Hi everybody, happy Saturday. I hope you're doing well. Kirsty, Goddess of Neptune here, bringing you the Sun entering Pisces. Yay. Very excited about this, of course, Pisces season. I am a proud Piscean myself, and I always love Pisces season. Not that I'm biased or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the chart very shortly for you, and that will show what we need to know. I was very drawn actually to a Mercury and Moon conjunction, which we've got happening. The Sun is due to enter Pisces 22:54 later this evening GMT. This is based on where I am in the UK, Greenwich Mean Time. So take it as it applies for your time zone, of course. But let's pull up the chart and I will show you. So bear with me whilst I navigate with this lovely technology. We're still in Aquarius season, right at the end of Aquarius season. Right, there we go. Okay, so you should see on the screen there the chart, Sun enters Pisces, okay, and I'm just going to refer to it on my bigger screen here. So you'll see at the bottom there where I've put the yellow marker, just to show you the Sun there with Pisces, 0 degrees. 22:54 GMT, as I mentioned. Now, what we've also got is we've got Aquarius energy still there. We're still in Aquarius at the moment. And we have Saturn at the final degrees of Aquarius. So that's quite harsh energy. Being at the end degrees of a sign can be quite harsh and intense anyway. And a lot of you have probably been feeling this Saturnian energy anyway. But we've also got Pluto, of course, final degrees of Capricorn. So two quite powerful energies there at the final degrees of those signs creeping up on Pisces, if you like. Saturn will, of course, be entering Pisces on the 7th of March. That's going to be quite a big thing. So we're sort of gearing up for that, but at the moment still in Aquarius. But you'll notice there, if you can see it on the screen, Aquarius energy. The moon will be in Aquarius because we are getting ready for the new moon in Pisces, of course. So the moon will be in Aquarius when the Sun enters Pisces, and Mercury will be there as well, and they are both 10 degrees, so they are practically on top of each other. So when you think about the moon in terms of emotions, feelings, you know, what makes us feel good, we've got that Aquarian energy, which has been calling for change and innovation, as has the Uranus energy, calling for change within the sign of Taurus. We've also got Mercury there. And when Mercury entered Aquarius, I, of course, did a video on this last week. Check it out if it resonates for you. With Mercury entering Aquarius, it was sort of challenging us as to where we need to change or innovate our communications with others, but also with ourselves. So we've got the moon on top of Mercury. So there could be some heaviness in terms of our feelings where communication still needs to change. And it's kind of compacted, you know, against each other. That's just the word that comes to my mind, because we've got the Sun moving into Pisces. So that soul essence moves into that magical, ethereal, dreamy sign of Pisces. And you've still got the air energy of Aquarius when it comes to our communication and our expression, but also with our feelings there as well, until, of course, the moon then moves into Pisces for the new moon, which we've got coming up on Monday the 20th for GMT. So it's 7:05 in the morning on the 20th in the UK for GMT. So still pushing for change very much, still asking us to go within. Where do we feel with the moon there that we still need to change our communication, even if it's just to ourselves? But there is this need to do that because of the Saturn energy that is pushing his way closer towards the gate of Pisces and that divinity realm in terms of when you think of karmic situations or karmic connections, karma generally, almost bringing that to the surface when it comes to the spiritual side that we're all facing and spiritual awakening, spiritual awareness, that sort of thing. And the karma that's sort of attached to our spiritual journeys and our enlightenment that we've been going through since this transformative period has really kicked off. I always say, you know, Scorpio season last year was quite intense because we had eclipses that followed that as well. Let's be real, it's been going on for a longer time than that. However, it's really been pushing us, that energy has been pushing us to transform and change. And this is no exception. We've got that energy of change still going on. So, of course, you know, we're wanting to make changes within our situations, within our connections with people, places, things, as well as our own connection with ourselves. And the moon being there on top of Mercury is still kind of encouraging us as that sun moves into the Piscean energy, you know, dreamy, spangly, magical, whatever you want to say. The moon is there kind of saying, right, how do you still feel about these communications you need to have, these conversations you need to have, and also our thoughts as well, because Mercury can represent thoughts. It is that air energy. We don't want to be overthinking, but where do we need to maybe strategize with things in terms of our feelings? What do we feel needs to change? And therefore, what do we need to rethink, refocus on in order to then communicate in an innovative way to push ourselves forward, moving ourselves out of this Pluto transformative energy, and of course, needing to face the Saturnian energy that's going to hit us in Pisces on the 7th of March. So I was very much drawn to that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I am going to pull up another chart that just shows the transits against the UK's chart. And for those of you that are curious as to why I have that date for the UK's chart, check out my first video I've done in terms of astrology, because I explain that there is a reason behind that. However, what you see here is you see two wheels, two circles. So the inner circle is the UK's natal chart, and you see the outer circle, the outer ring, the outer wheel, which is this event of the sun entering Pisces. So again, I've marked that up. Hopefully you can see that. And what you'll see, and I'm just going to refer to it here on the big screen, is that it's happening in the UK's 8th house. So when we consider the 8th house being sort of power, you know, there is a power element to the 8th house. So think of it from a nation's point of view. So the sun entering Pisces within the 8th house. Saturn is also there in the 8th house, although it is in Aquarius. And this is where, again, charts are unique. And this is based on just the chart I'm looking at. So take it how it resonates for you. This is mainly based on collective energy concerning the UK, but it could also resonate for you. Apply it as you will, but don't try and make anything fit that doesn't. But we can see that even though it is in Aquarius, Saturn is in Aquarius, it's still in the 8th house. So that's really pushing that sort of the power energy, because Saturn is very powerful. Saturn is very much the taskmaster, rules, business focused, and also karma as well. So when we think of power, you know, there could be some karmic situations going on for the UK as the sun enters Pisces, because that sort of soul essence of the sun, bringing that kind of, you know, true essence to light, could be bringing up karmic situations, or could simply be heightening the power element for the nation. What I also looked at was, of course, where the moon and Mercury with their conjunction, what house that's going to be in for the UK, and that's in the 7th house of relationships. So again, the UK's relationships with other countries, as an example. So still calling for kind of that change in terms of communications and expressions, and maybe needing to do things in a different way, or challenging the status quo, whether that applies or whether it doesn't. But the Aquarian energy is very unique, but it's also rebellious. And it also echoes that need for change. So again, you know, does there need to be a change in how things are communicated in terms of that Aquarian energy with connections? So again, very close to the powerhouse, you know, with the 7th house and the 8th house, very close together in terms of perhaps there's been some karmic situations or karmic connections that the UK is having to deal with. And the moon is there to sort of say, you know, let's see how we feel about this as a nation. What I was also drawn to is the Pluto energy, of course, at the tail end of Capricorn is in the 6th house, so daily routines and schedules. So still that transformation need in terms of how we do things, you know, on a day-to-day basis. Things are changing, things are evolving, and you know that from your own life. There's a need for change. And this is happening globally. So it's not surprising to see it here in this way, in my opinion. What we also have in the 9th house is we have the transit of Neptune in Pisces, which of course, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. And Neptune is there conjunct to the UK's Mercury. So we've got Mercury transiting through Aquarius in the 7th house. But in terms of the UK's natal chart, Mercury, 24 degrees, in the 9th house in Pisces, we've got Neptune at 24 degrees transiting through at the time of the sun entering Pisces, so the exact degrees. So again, looking at the Neptunian element, which of course is magical, dreamy, but Neptune also rules the media. So when you look at that, and Jupiter is there as well within the UK's natal chart, within that house, the 9th house is about beliefs, religion. It can also relate to spirituality, but certainly beliefs. And maybe that conventional way of being needing to be challenged. Of course, we've got the Aquarian energy that's pushing for change. And then we've got the ethereal Neptunian energy sitting on top of the UK's Mercury. But this feels to me like it's more about the media, because Mercury, communication, expression, Neptune, ruler of the media, on top of one another in the 9th house. So what I would say is to just be mindful, to use your discernment about what could be coming out in the media around the time that the sun enters Pisces, which is later tonight for GMT. It's happening on the 18th of February, 22:54 GMT. Because of the fact that they're on top of one another in the 9th house of beliefs, religion. So if there is agendas to be pushed, as an example, just use your discernment with that deceptive element that the media could bring across because of the deceptive energy of Neptune, if that makes sense. So there's, of course, shadow sides to everything. So we've got the lovely, dreamy, magical, ethereal, mystical, spiritual element of Neptune. And then the shadow side is more of that deception, illusion, can create confusion. So bear that in mind because it's on top of the UK's Mercury, communication, expression, thoughts. We've still, of course, got Uranus in Taurus, and that is in the 11th house, where the UK's natal chart, we have Venus. So this is kind of, that change is still needed. Think about the essence of that divine feminine energy with Venus, but love as well. And the 11th house is about connections. So it's still pushing for that change in connections. So we've still got that emphasis going on relating to change in terms of the UK's connections with other countries potentially, or just within ourselves as a collective, our connections with other people or with people, places, things, because we can have relationships with all those things. And as I said earlier, we've got the moon and Mercury on top of one another as the sun enters Pisces. That's going on in the 7th house for the moon and Mercury. And then we've got what I mentioned about Neptune being on top of the UK's Mercury in the 9th house of beliefs and religion. So there's quite a lot going on for this particular event. And it's a very dreamy time, the Pisces season. Now, I know I joke, I'm biased because I am Piscean, but it is that sort of, it's that opportunity to really embrace that magical self. And we've all got that within us to embrace, but change is still being encouraged. So where we're not applying that, in terms of our spiritual journey, our spiritual beliefs, our spiritual practices, it's a reminder really to embrace that spiritual, magical person within, that soul within, and to truly allow our manifestations to take flight. Because of course, Pisces is, ruler of the 12th house, the spiritual house. So there is that element of kind of really going within, with the new moon coming up in a couple of days. And I will do a separate reading on this, a separate video on this. That's really manifestations, making those manifestations count. but still with that essence of change that's needed because of everything else going on in the chart. You know, where do we still need to change? Where do we still need to make those transformations? We may feel we've done enough of it already and we're tired, but this is still encouraging us. The energy is encouraging us. It might feel like we're being forced sometimes because there's been tower moments flying off left, right, and center, but this is encouraging us to actually go within and truly embrace that magical magician within, and to really go forward in terms of where we want to change, where we want to make changes in our life, our connections with people, places, things, our thoughts, what thought patterns need to change. If we've been talking to ourselves negatively, let's change that. Let's focus on the positive. Let's focus on who we are, not what other people believe we are or want us to be, who we are and who we want to be. So I hope that finds you well. And I will, of course, be back on here to do a reading for the new moon in Pisces. But until that time, I'm sending you love and blessings for the sun in Pisces season. Yay, let's go. Take care, everybody.